Martin Truex Jr. recently revealed some interesting details regarding his intentions for the 2025 Daytona 500. While we expected him to compete for 23XI Racing, he later confirmed that he would not be driving for that team. So, could it be a logistical issue, a strategy shift, or something else entirely? Let's go into the details of Truex's decision, as well as examine what it means for his career and 23XI Racing's future. Martin Truex Jr. recently startled the NASCAR community by announcing that he will not be competing for 23XI competing in the 2025 Daytona 500, despite speculation from many, including ourselves and experts. This decision adds another unexpected twist to a racing career that has already seen many of them. Truex, who previously had a good run with Joe Gibbs Racing, is now preparing to return to one of the sport's most famous events under different conditions. This team, he is competing as a guest driver on a one-off. The news of Truex's plans for the 2025 Daytona 500 circulated rapidly, leaving fans with many doubts. Many people expected him to drive a 23XI racing car, as the team has long been regarded as Truex's most likely destination, particularly with Denny Hamlin in charge of operations. Truex appeared like an ideal candidate to join the rising 23XI racing squad for this prestigious event. 23XI has experienced recent expansion and success, making it a logical choice. Many fans were excited about Truex driving for 23XI, particularly at one of NASCAR's most famous races. But, as it turns out, Truex will not race for the team next season. He confirmed this move in a recent interview, stating that, while he still intended to compete in the Daytona 500, it would not be with 23XI Racing, as previously anticipated. The actual reasons for this move remain unknown, but Truex's comments provided plenty of space for speculation and speculations. 23XI Racing is a very new team in NASCAR. The squad was established in 2020, and its quick expansion has been amazing. It began with only one car, but has now grown to include multiple cars and a strong roster of drivers. Denny Hamlin was already well known in the sport, and Michael Jordan brought his star power to the table, thus 23XI Racing swiftly established itself. The team made its impact in its inaugural season by signing Bubba Wallace, a very talented driver with a developing fan base and a strong presence both on and off the track. Wallace's arrival at 23XI Racing was viewed as a key step for NASCAR since it helped increase interest in the sport, particularly among minority groups. Wallace's presence at 23XI Racing instilled a feeling of social duty, since he has been an outspoken advocate for racial equality in sports. As the team evolved, so did its driver lineup, which included excellent drivers like Tyler Reddick and others. This demonstrated the team's dedication to development and success, positioning 23XI Racing as one of NASCAR's most competitive organizations. Fans and analysts alike began to wonder if the squad might become a dominant force in the series, especially with the support of such powerful figures. It felt like the ideal opportunity for Truex to join the team. He would bring an abundance of knowledge and a reputation as one of NASCAR's top drivers. Truex had already won the NASCAR Cup Series title in 2017, and his steady efforts over the years had earned him a place among the sport's most recognized leaders. His association with 23XI Racing would have been viewed as a significant coup for the team, but as time passed, it became evident that Truex's ideas were evolving. Despite initial discussions about his joining 23XI Racing, things did not pan out as planned. One of the primary reasons Truex may not race for 23XI Racing next season is NASCAR's charter structure and the restrictions it imposes on teams. NASCAR implemented its charter structure to bring more stability and financial certainty to its teams in the sport. Under this system, teams must obtain charters in order to compete in races, and these charters have certain regulations and limits. One of the most important components of the charter system is the limit on how many vehicles any team can enter in a season. While this regulation was implemented to prevent teams from fielding too many cars and saturating the grid, it has also made it more difficult for teams to add more entries for special events such as the Daytona 500. Under the current rules, 3-car teams, like as Joe Gibbs Racing, Truex's longtime home, are not permitted to run a 4th car, even for special events such as the Daytona 500. This limitation may explain why Truex does not race for 23XI Racing, since it would be impossible for JGR or 23XI to run another car for him without violating the regulations. Truex would most certainly require a competitive car to make a meaningful run at the Daytona 500, and obtaining such car under the present charter structure has proved to be a difficult task. This challenge most likely influenced Truex's choice not to compete for 23XI Racing. Despite the constraints on chartered entry, the method does allow for some flexibility. Teams such as 23XI Racing may be able to run a fourth car as an open entry without the need for a charter. This would allow Truex to participate in the Daytona 500 with 23XI Racing, but it still creates logistical issues. The team would need to work around current restrictions, and finding a means to do it without breaching NASCAR's guidelines may be tricky. The charter system has clearly become a source of dispute in recent years. While it has brought stability for many teams, it has also restricted drivers' freedom to compete for other teams or join new organizations. Truex's scenario is only one example of how the system may influence driver decisions and limit the freedom that both drivers and teams prefer. Truex's tremendous expertise would have been an invaluable asset to 23XI, and many believed he would eventually join the squad. However, the complexity of NASCAR's charter structure, combined with other logistical concerns, made it impossible for the team to accommodate Truex's entrance into the Daytona 500. While Truex may not be competing for 23XI competing in the Daytona 500, he still has other choices to consider. Truex has a lengthy history with Joe Gibbs Racing, thus it seems probable that he will partner up with them again. Truex has been with JGR since 2019, and he has achieved great success with them. JGR is one of NASCAR's most successful teams, and it has the resources and infrastructure to help Truex make his return to the Daytona 500. However, as previously stated, NASCAR's charter structure provides a dilemma for JGR, since the team is unable to run a fourth car without breaking the regulations. Truex might compete with Legacy Motor Club, a Toyota-affiliated team with just 2 acquired entries. This would allow Legacy Motor Club to field a third car in the Daytona 500, and the team's connection with JGR might give Truex with the backing he requires. Legacy Motor Club is another team that has demonstrated potential in recent years. The firm has worked with numerous successful drivers, including Eric Jones and Ty Dillon, and has established solid ties with key individuals in NASCAR. This association might make Legacy Motor Club a perfect starting point for Truex in the Daytona 500, especially if he wants a competitive vehicle and the support of a well-known squad. Another option is that Truex could partner with a different Toyota-affiliated team for the Daytona 500, though the practicalities of this arrangement are unknown. NASCAR's intricate regulations and limits make it tough to foresee how things will play out, but Truex clearly has alternatives if he wants to race in the prestigious event. Truex's decision not to drive for 23XI Racing in the Daytona 500 is only the most recent chapter in a long and successful career. Truex has been a fixture in the NASCAR Cup Series for more than a decade, and his track record speaks for itself. Truex is widely considered as one of the sport's most skilled and consistent drivers, having won a championship, made many playoff appearances, and collected countless wins. While Truex may be retiring from full-time racing, his willingness to compete in select races such as the Daytona 500 demonstrates that he is not ready to quit the sport entirely. This decision also allows other drivers to move ahead and take on more significant positions within 23XI Racing and other organizations. Truex expects the Daytona 500 to be a spectacular race. It is one of the most memorable events in racing history, and NASCAR fans hold it in high regard. Although Truex will not be driving for 23XI, his intention to continue competing in certain events, including the historic Daytona 500, demonstrates that he is not finished with NASCAR, and the options for him to race in the Daytona 500 are slim but not impossible. So expect Truex Jr. to line up for the 2025 Daytona 500, and who knows, he might surprise us all one more time. And that concludes today's video. Don't forget to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and ring the notification bell while you're there.